appreciate you taking the time to join us again. We're here again, Al and Adam, with One More Store. We're very excited to talk today to Tom and Stephanie Egler. Hello, Eglers. How are you?
Hello.
Good, good. Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. And they are the creators and co-CEOs. I don't know if you guys actually have different titles than that. Is it co-CEO?
Pretty much, yes.
Okay, we'll call it that. The founders and co-CEOs of SureThing Studios. Full disclosure, I have known Tom since he was a 9-year-old. And one thing he's going to laugh at me at, 9 years old, folks. Yes, I know, being a 25-year-old, it was just that, he's only like 14 now. But I'm very excited to sort of come full circle with this. And another thing that's going to be really fun is I'm going to do the edits on this video. And Tom has been editing video for probably 20 some years. So he's going to laugh.
No pressure.
So no pressure.
None at all. You're good.
He's going to make fun of all these edits. I'm hoping that right below this video, there's comment after comment from Tom just talking about how bad my cuts were.
Jump cut, horrible transition.
Trust me, they will be horrible in your eyes, I'm sure. I will think they're fantastic, but they will.
No.
But we're very excited to talk to them today. So this is a SureThing Studios, basically is an all-purpose provider of media services. They do, I think, some consulting as well as kind of some product production. They do some one-off work, but they also do some contract work long-term. And there's really a wide range of things they do and that they've been expert at for, gosh, how long have you been in business?
12 years.
12 years, yeah.
12 years. And probably before that 12 years, you were doing this work, right? It took a little while before you actually put walls around it. How long would you say total you guys have kind of been working in this space?
So before marriage, I was also in the space. And so I have about 23 years experience.
Jeez.
Yeah. And I have about 20 years of experience. So total about 43 years of media experience. Yeah.
Wow. That's serious. Wow, I didn't know that. That's actually, those numbers are large. Okay, great. Well, we're very excited to talk to you guys today about sort of the ebb and flow. So, we've been talking to folks who are putting their businesses together, trying to build them. And over time, obviously, some of that looks different depending on the business. So we'd just love to hear about how you guys have structured it. So I will kick off to my partner.
Yeah, thanks, guys. So, hearing about experience that's like triple businesses, but I'd love to hear from your voice kind of about SureThing Studios, about what you do, kind of what services or I suppose products you offer.
Sure. So we've done everything from so most people in the media space, especially if you're doing any type of like service, providing a service such as video or photography, most people start out in one of two worlds. It's either weddings, or you start out doing like music videos. And so I would say for myself, I started out doing both. I'm a drummer. And so I grew up in the studio, grew up on stage. I still play drums to this day. And because of that, I had a lot of friends who were in the creative space, who were a lot of artists and things like that. And so a lot of them needed music videos. And then being involved in like church and things like that, we did I did a lot of promo videos, a lot of just working with either artists or the church world or small businesses. And so we've done a huge array of everything, man. And then Stephanie, you can go.
Yeah, we've done graphics, so graphic designs, everything from rebranding to creating a brand, business cards, flyers, web design. What am I missing? Photography, live production of events, audio production, video production. We've done concerts, we've done commercials, we've done corporate, we've done small businesses, nonprofits, just kind of a wide range.
Yeah. Now we kind of try to we kind of try to like niche down just a little bit to small businesses and entrepreneurs, because they're like so near and dear to our hearts. And when I say like small businesses, I'm also including churches. because again, we grew up in the church world, and both of our parents, set of parents were pastors. And so a lot of missions work, things like that, those things are really near and dear to our hearts. And so we've had a lot of experience doing, again, like Stephanie said, from really small, hometown events to actually really pretty large events. We've done, so I'll just give you a quick little example and then we can move on. When we got married, it was November 28th, and literally a month later, we were traveling on the road. I played drums for a pretty large conference. It was a week-long conference, and it was at the Rams Stadium in St. Louis. And it was what they say, like 40,000 people were there in the stadium, and it was college age up until adult age students. And my wife was a part of the stage production as well. And so I've done different things like that. I've played and done events at the United Center in Chicago. I've played there twice. We've done a lot of major projects, but I believe that we've gotten these experiences so that we can bring them back to our communities. A lot of people who look like us don't really have those experiences and those opportunities. And so that's kind of what we feel called to.
Nice. By the way, good job knowing your wedding date offhand, not having to think about it even for a second. That was important. Stephanie felt that one. That's good. So I have a question, and it's something I've probably already thought at some level, but I would love to hear your answer. So you go from 40,000 person stadiums, United Center, massive events. Tom, I know you as talent. You have drumming talent that's not like, it's not normal, right? Like, you're not just a weekend drummer. You're really, really good. Like, you could be a pro. You could kind of push that direction. Stephanie, you're doing the stage production on those big events. You're good enough, obviously, that you could have gone sort of that same way and done like kind of the, in front of the camera kind of work, or like the close to the camera work. What pushed you guys behind the camera? What made you think we'd rather kind of do this side of it?
For me, it was actually accidental. I was originally going to go into architecture, but accidentally designed something for a small production company I was working for when I was 16. And from that, they said, you have really great talent in this. So instead of doing anything else, you should go to school for this. And so I followed that path. And then as I got along into it, realizing again, like Tom was saying before, our community doesn't really, at the time, didn't really do production well. And so it could have been easy to be in front of the camera, but it felt more purposeful to be behind the scenes and try to help other people, gain this a sense of higher quality that we hadn't seen before.
What was the thing you designed? Was it a stage layout? Like, what was the
it was like it was for a church. It was like a random sermon graphic. And at the time, I didn't know anything about computers. I knew nothing about design. They asked me to put a label on it, and I made a label, and it ended up being my first design.
That's awesome. And so, and going back to sort of the end of what you were talking about, which I think is important here, 12 years in business, I think it's really hard not to have some purpose. Would you say that is sort of the core purpose at the heart of SureThing Studios for you both? Is we've sort of seen what it looks like on the outside where the lights are bright. Let's bring that back to people who don't typically have access. Would that be fair?
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. That, and so at one point our tagline was showing people what's right with the world. And so there's so much just junk and garbage out in media, television, online, and so we just feel like we have a higher calling on our lives. Like I said, just kind of growing up in church and knowing that that's just our background, and so we're able to take what we've learned and kind of be light in dark spaces.
So I think we've talked about your experience and your initial interest in how you kind of decided what you wanted to work on, but we're interested in, how did it kind of manifest as a business, or like what made it into the SureThing, from your interest, from the work you were doing? Like, how did you know it was the business?
Yeah. So one of the ways that that I kind of presented it to Stephanie. So again, we had just gotten married. So the year after we got married is when we started our business. And so we would be on, dates, and it would just be like the most nerdy dates. Like we have, like, we break out our notebooks and we're like, okay, so if we're going to name a business, what would it be? Like, and just like, what kind of projects would we do? And just dreaming. And it got to the point to where, I was working for these large organizations, and, Stephanie as well. And so I'm like, we've seen projects. It's not like we were just a cog in the large production. It was more so like we would see projects. We've done that, but then we would see projects from start to finish. And a lot of these projects were earning tens of thousands of dollars and up. And so for us, it was like, okay, we're number one, we're missing out on a lot of money. And then number two, it was like, I'm pretty sure that what's already being done, we can do, but even better, and pay more attention to like the detail and things like that. And so we decided to start our like service-based business that way. We were already getting lots of clients from our community. And so just from that, like, it was honestly word of mouth for years, where that's all we even, I'm honestly, we still haven't really done a lot of marketing for our business. But that's kind of one of the things that let us know we were onto something, that we had something, is because, we were already getting the business. We were already getting the clients. Just organically.
Yeah, and that's something I want to poke at a little bit too, because I feel like in a lot of businesses, service or product, you kind of go, you go the Walmart route, where you're going to provide everything for everybody, and it's going to be 80% of what you want, but it's going to be a lot of people. Or you go the what's a fancy brand? I don't know fancy brands anymore. I wear like cargo shorts. Gucci, is that still fancy?
Yeah, that's fancy.
Okay,
That's pretty fancy.
Okay, we go
Prada. We can even go Prada.
Oh, Prada, that's right. Okay, that feels nice. Okay, so you go the Prada route, right? And I'm going to sell less, but it's going to be for a higher price point. Were you guys being purposeful about that? Because both of you, again, I think are sort of, you're world class at what you do. And then when you're thinking about sort of the individual things, whether it be the stage production or the drumming and the musicianship or whatever it is, were you thinking of bringing that sort of back to your brand on SureThing, and then say SureThing is going to be the luxury brand at the accessible level? Like, we're going to be accessible luxury, or almost, or were you thinking of it that purposefully, or how are you going about that?
Absolutely. That was kind of our, I guess another theme of ours is, how can we bring this back to our community and show people that you still have options, whether your budget is big or whether your budget is small. You can still do something that appears to be grand, even if it's not the grand prices.
Yeah. And honestly, it was kind of starting out, it was a tough thing for us, is because, again, most of the things that we really get energized over are like passion projects, and things that really don't. And I think that's for most people, the things that don't really bring in the most income, you're just like really, really passionate and excited about. And for us, so that was really tough, is because, again, we started out kind of in the creative space. Stephanie probably was doing more corporate than I was, but we started out really doing a lot of passion stuff. And so it was like, okay, we know we're offering top tier products and top tier services. How do we kind of make sure that it fits the audience? And so we kind of we would go back and forth. Sometimes Stephanie would be like, charge them, that's how much it's supposed to be. And I'm like, are you sure? And then it would go back and forth, like, are you serious, that's all you charge? And so yeah, I think we've had a few people in our life kind of speak into our business and just let us know, like, hey, you guys do top tier work, you gotta charge.
Yeah, and in a lot of ways, sorry, in a lot of ways, they, this is kind of like your first, what we're calling locations, right? Like when we talk to people, we're thinking about their locations and how they expand their locations. This is almost like your first location. It feels like you said,
Yeah.
we're going to put quality, but make it available to our community. And then you found, oftentimes, which I think church-going people or passion project people find that those people don't like to pay as much, which we love them, but they don't like to pay as much. So that becomes a challenge. But so how have you sort of worked to resolve, or how has that resolved itself, or has it resolved itself, or how have you kind of like fought that problem on your first location?
Every now and again, it still kind of presents itself as a challenge, but for the most part, we have learned how to tier our projects. So, level one might be still great quality, but it's a lower cost. You won't get a 6 camera shoot. You might get one, maybe two, and then just kind of build up from there. And that's been way more helpful for us to still provide to some of our smaller budget clients, but not shoot ourselves in the foot.
And so we're talking about your first location or first business, but always keep an eye on expansion. So, you're talking about that tiered strategy. How do you guys choose? Okay, when can you take on more work? I mean, have you dealt with any like hiring or subbing? Just to I'd love to learn about like you guys choosing to get bigger or not.
Yeah, absolutely. Some of those happen when, again, like I said, we would do artists, and we would do concert videos, or we would do just like larger events. And for those large events, I mean, she mentioned 6 camera shoot. I mean, we've gone up till 7-8 camera shoots before, and clearly I only have 2 arms, and so does she. So we had to get more people to help out and to kind of staff our events and shoots that way. And so yeah, I mean, I think we've dealt with a lot of contract just contract guys over the years, where it's, again, actually I'll say there's been probably 2 events where I was on drums, and SureThing Studio still did the event. And so we would, yeah. And so one of them, I was locked into the drums. I'm playing music, and my team is shooting, good to go. The other one, I'm like, I have a headset on. I'm like, like I'm playing drums,
Drumming and filming.
Oh
Yes,
man,
it was really bad.
And so I'm like producing, I'm directing, and I'm like playing, and like in between songs, they're like, "Hey, camera 1 just went out. What should we do? Camera 2 just died. What should we do?" But yeah, I mean, I think we've done a pretty good job of, over the years, just kind of adding to the team. About 2 or 3 years ago, we probably around the pandemic, we saw kind of a spike in a lot of the work that we're doing. And of course, at the time, everyone's at home. Everyone's not allowed to be in close proximity, and so because of that, media work shot through the roof. And so graphics, video, things like that. And at one point, Stephanie was designing lots of websites, and these websites, the builds would be months at a time sometimes. And so once we had kids, she's like, listen, it's going to be either kids or websites. Like, which one do you or both? She was saying your time and attention couldn't go on all of those. And so what we did was we hired a web developer, someone who we've worked close with in years past. And so yeah, so that's what we do. Sometimes there's an event where I'm shooting, or we're doing an event, a different location, and then there's a wedding scheduled that same day. Where we've sent out teams to we've basically managed the entire project, created supervised the entire thing from start to finish, and whether that's from the shoot and edit, or maybe they shoot and I edit. But we've definitely figured out how to expand the team over the years.